Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian, and I am streaming to you from beautiful Budapest here in Central Europe. I hope everybody has had a great start to their week. Hi, Ibrahim. Hi, Prabesh. Hi, Divya. Good to see a member in class, Danish. Raza. All right, everyone, let's get going. Today, IELTS speaking part 1. Materials come from our web pages or web portals for the exam, aehelp.com. For the academic version of the test, and gieltshelp.com for the general version. Put them up there so you can check out those websites at any time during the lesson. Hi Ferdavs, hi Hung Begzad, Alvina Preeti, members, and hello everyone else. All right, just an important announcement. I uploaded a new speaking interview video with a South Korean candidate who would get 7 to 7.5, closer to 7.5, for his performance on the exam. So if you haven't checked that out, that's an HD video interview, of course, and you can get lots of those kinds of videos on our websites. So check those out and make sure to watch them a few times. Use the subtitles. We include subtitles, of course, the captions to help you. So satisfying times. You saw that? Fantastic. All right. Again, if you have questions about the exam or about our products, our teaching, just send me an email, Adrian, Adrian, at aehelp.com, and I will gladly answer your question. All right, I'm happy to see that several of you have seen that new video. That's great. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you found it useful for your studies. If not, let me know. We always like to hear feedback, whether it's good or bad, so we can improve and make our products even better. All right, students, the schedule for this week of live IELTS class from July 10th to the 13th. Speaking part 1, that's for everybody today. Tomorrow, a little bit earlier time, we have a task 2 that was requested by Rahul. I don't think Rahul's in the class yet. I haven't seen him, but anyway, that will be a task 2. And then we have reading tomorrow later in the week, continuing that task 2, some listening, and speaking part 2, and speaking part 3. All right, I can see that a couple of you are saying that you're having a little bit of trouble with the pronunciation in that video. Yeah, it depends where you are in the world. Different accents can be difficult for different users of the English language. But since English is a global language, it's good to be familiar with a variety of accents, whether it's South Korean, from India, Punjabi or Hindi, or a Russian accent. So do try to spread your wings and become familiar with a variety of non-native English-speaking accents that will be useful for your later life. Okay? Danish, send me that question in an email, and I will happily answer you. All right, so here we go, students. Examiner questions, part 1. This is speaking, so make sure to not just listen, not just comment, but also speak and repeat. Repeat questions and repeat answers. It's very, very useful to do both. Okay? All right. So, speaking section of the IELTS exam, it's a short interview, about 12 minutes roughly, where the examiner tries to get a good idea of your speaking level. Okay? Now, students, the IELTS exam is a graded exam. So, band 0, okay, means you didn't show up for the exam or you don't speak any English. Like the way that you say hi or hello is You do this. Okay, so if you go into your speaking exam and all you can do for your English is like that, then you get a 0. But then it starts to go up. Okay, and it goes up to a band 9. Okay, so I drew a line graph here to kind of give you an idea of how the band score system works in the IELTS exam. This is important because it will help you to realize what you need to do for the higher band scores. So this is a band 0. This is a band 1. Okay. This is a band 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay. So I want you to notice something interesting about my graph here for your band scores. Okay. And this is for the reading, listening, writing, and speaking. Okay. All right. Gee, thanks. I'm glad to hear your speaking exam went well. What this means is that between a band 1 and a 2, there's a very clear difference. Between a band 2 and a 3, there's a very clear difference. Same between a band 3 and a 4. Band 4 and a 5, there's still a pretty good difference, quite noticeable, quite easy to mark. But then notice how after we get past band 5 into this band 5 to band 9 range, okay? So this range here, my graph starts to kind of level and there's just a slight increase, okay? That's because these band scores, band 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the ability of students is much narrower. It's much trickier to assess, but also you have to do a lot more to show those small differences. Do you understand what I mean by that? So if I, just for a second, jump to reading or listening, a band 9 in reading or listening is 39 or 40 questions correct from 40. So it's basically a perfect score. And then after that, it goes down to an 8.5. So there's just a very small difference between an 8.5 and a 9. It's almost a perfect score. Okay. This range here is very narrow. Okay. Now, why is that important? That's important because in your IELTS speaking, you really have to give an extra effort to show that you're not just a band 6, but you're a band 7 or a band 8 or a band 9 student. Is that clear? Is it clear what I'm showing you right now? A lot of students get stuck at band 5 and band 6 because they don't realize that they have to really give an extra effort to get those higher band scores. You really have to show your language. Okay? It's very, very important. All right, so let's keep that in mind as we do today's speaking. Okay? So this 12 minutes, it's a short time. It's not just a chit-chat with a friend in a coffee shop. It's not a job interview. It's more like speaking with clarity to your grandfather or your grandmother. Okay, as I've said many times before. Okay, so today's tip, as we move into today's questions, is in order to get a band 6.5 or more, you must explicitly show the examiner your higher level English ability. Okay? Explicitly, when I say explicitly, I mean with effort, clearly. Okay? So you have to emphasize that. All right, students, let's get into it a little bit. Let's start with the icebreaker questions. So when you go into the examination room, you feel calm, you feel confident, you feel comfortable, and you have your passport ready, you have been using English for at least a few hours before your exam. Okay, make sure that you do not walk into your exam cold. And then the examiner will always start by asking for your identification. They have information on you in front of them. They have to match with that information. So their first question will be, may I see your identification, please? And Dr. Mazin Salah says, take a deep breath, exhale, breathe. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so take a deep breath, walk in. You're doing great. Sun will shine tomorrow. All right. So first question, may I see your identification, please? Don't just sit quietly or pass your ID. Just imagine if anybody asked you in your own language, you would probably say, yes, sure, or here you are. Okay, so Sonia Jetwani says, sure, here it is. All right. Yeah, Pachu says, drink some water before you go in. That's a good idea too. Use the washroom. Absolutely. All right. Marasa says, certainly, ma'am or sir, depending on their gender. Please have a look. Yeah. Okay. Satisfying Time says, yes, absolutely. Here it is. Take a look and remember to smile. Yeah, absolutely. Satisfying Times, that is a very good tip. Remember to smile, okay? Forcing a smile can actually help break down stress. So, Satisfying Times, thank you for sharing that note. In psychology, it's a proven fact that when people force their smile, it has a positive reaction on their body and their confidence. So, reacting to, may I see your identification, please, with, yes, certainly, please take a look. And Satisfying Time says, make sure to smile, okay? That can help relieve stress and build confidence, even if you have to force it. Okay? Smiling is a beautiful, beautiful gesture. All right? Tayinder Singh says, yes, here's my passport, and some other good responses. There, students, as I said before, practice saying this in different ways. Again, repeat after me. May I see your identification, please? Yes, certainly. Please take a look. All right. Next question. They will always ask you this. They will match it with what they see in your passport. What is your full name? What is your full name? Okay. Malik. I'm pretty sure I'm loud enough. If anybody else is having trouble with the volume, let me know. But I think, Malik, you will have to turn up the volume on your side. All right, students. Again, what is your full name? Practice different ways to answer that question. You want to sound natural, okay, when you say it. So what is your full name? Marasa says, my full name is Marasa Baraki, as you can see in my documents. You can address me by my nickname, which is Honey. Sure. Okay, that works, Marasa. Absolutely. My full name is Frank Smith, as you can also see in my passport. Please call me by my nickname, Frankie. Okay? And that's good. Always tell them what your nickname is, because they will ask you, what should I call you? Okay? Especially if you have a difficult name. So, Bagshot says, my surname is Suyunov and my given name is Bagshot. Please just call me Bagshot. That works good. Again, be very nice and smooth with this. For Dovs, my full name is Nabiev for Dovs. And you can check it on my ID. Please call me Firdavs. Okay, Firdavs, that's good. Yeah, you can check it on my ID. You don't need the from Firdavs. You can just say check it out on my ID, not from my ID. Okay? Danish. My first name is Danish. My last name is Raza. Just call me Raza. Okay? But you can, you don't need that, Danish. Okay? Esra says, my name is Esra and my surname is Karayüz. Ünle, call me Esra. I hope I pronounced that somewhat right, Esra. That works? Yeah, fine. All right, let's keep going. So these are icebreaker questions, and for those of you who took the IELTS exam before, you probably know that they always ask 2 or 3 of these questions. They want you to feel comfortable, okay? But they are assessing your English. So even with these questions, they're already looking at your English, okay? So here we go with the next question. Where do you live? Where do you live? Okay. Again, very common for these icebreaker questions. Make sure that you practice answering these in different ways. Okay. Mira Dem is asking, can the examiner ask for spelling? Yes, it's possible. Yeah, they might ask for the spelling of your name. You should, students, all practice spelling before your exam, because you don't just need it possibly for your name in the speaking, but you need to hear spelling for the listening section. So you should be able to spell your name in English, absolutely. Okay. All right, Preeti says, I grew up in a popular lake city of Udaipur, which is located in the southern part of Rajasthan in India. Pretty good. If it's popular, you can say the popular, as it's uniquely a popular lake city. Okay. Hung says, I live in Taipei, the capital of Taiwan. My hometown is at the north of Taipei, and it takes about 30 minutes to get to the center of the city. Hung, I'm not sure if hometown is the right expression there. I think you mean your district, maybe, or your area, your neighborhood. Okay, so think about that. All right. Bagshot says, currently I'm living in an apartment in the center of the capital city of Uzbekistan, Tashkent, with my siblings, brother and sister. All right, good. So you answered who do you live with as well. Don't go overboard, Bagshot. That's good. All right. Okay, so I live in the beautiful garden city of Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia in the westernmost region of Canada. All right. So it's my usual hometown. All right. Notice something interesting here, and this goes back, Hung, to what you wrote. When you say capital, you don't need to say city. We often don't include the word city. We'll often just say capital. It's understood that it's the city. So repeat after me. Where do you live? I live in the beautiful garden city of Victoria, which is the capital of British Columbia, the westernmost region of Canada. British Columbia is the province, of course. Okay. All right, and then the next question. Now, this is already a bit of a follow-up question, you will notice. So the examiner is kind of testing you here and seeing how well you're able to interact. What do you like about living there? So they may or may not ask you that question. It's quite possible. If you have some good English skills, they will look for more detail. So an interesting situation that you will notice, students, and some of you who took the IELTS before will know this, the better your English, the more the examiner will test your English. So in the speaking section, or the speaking interview, the better your speaking skills, the more the examiner will test you. This means they will ask more follow-up questions and elicit greater detail and interaction. Okay, so they're going to try to get into more of a conversation with you. Okay, so Preeti says about his hometown in Rajasthan, I love the greenery and the mountains surrounding my hometown, which give it a ton of fresh air that keeps me healthy. Yeah, the mountains and greenery give fresh air to the whole city, right, Preeti? It's okay if you say give me, but give the city, I think, is a little bit clearer. Okay. Marina says, I admire my city for its modern and evolving appearance. Plenty. That was pretty good. I think it's Marina, yeah. Plenty of opportunities for growth and development, including a historical park. It includes a historical park, which brings many visitors. You don't need to say visitors and tourists, so don't overspeak, students. So don't double up words. Like, it's amazing and it's beautiful. Lots of tourists and visitors come every year and every annum. You don't need to double your words, okay? Say one word once. That's good enough. All right? Princess Anu says, I like the greenery in my city and the convenience of shopping. There's a shopping mall very close to my home where I go on the weekends to buy what I need and what I want, like this shirt that I have on today. All right. Hung says, just as I mentioned before, I live in the northern part of Taipei, which is near Yangming Mountain, the National Park of Taiwan. I love the fresh air and greenery there. For example, I just went for a hike last week with my family. Very good, Hung. That works. Okay, that's the level of detail that you need to include to show that difference between the band 7, 8, 9 that I was indicating at the start of class. Okay. All right. So here's my answer. Victoria is a coastal city situated next to the Pacific Ocean, and it is an economic powerhouse. This makes living in Victoria very comfortable, as the air is clean and the city is well developed. Aside from this, the citizens are helpful and friendly. All right, so this is my answer here. Again, repeat after me. What do you like about living there? Victoria is a coastal city situated next to the Pacific Ocean, and it is an economic powerhouse. This makes living in Victoria very comfortable, as the air is clean and the city is well developed. Aside from this, the citizens are helpful and friendly. All right, so again, if you have the vocabulary, show it. Don't repeat words within the same sentence. Answer nice and quick and smooth, okay? Practice these kinds of answers at home frequently, as there is a good chance that you will need to use them at some point in your speaking. All right, so then the examiner will continue with part 1. Part 1, the questions will be on some general topic, focusing mostly on you. In this case, the examiner says, Let's talk about communication. Okay, communication means talking with each other, discussing with each other, sharing information, getting an idea of needs, wants, and perspectives. Okay, here we go. First question, what technology do you use to communicate with others? Okay, what technology do you use to communicate with others? While you answer that, I'll look at some more comments. Timur Juraev says, hey, Adrian, is eye contact important in speaking? Yes, Timur, you should try to make eye contact. Now, if you get nervous or shy when you make eye contact with the examiner, then just look away for a minute and then look back, okay? So you can talk, you can look, think, and then you can look back, okay? So you don't have to have constant eye contact, but you do need to return eye contact, okay? All right. So Pachu says, I do use to communicate with others, such as cell phones, social websites, text messages, and fax, because these are easy way to talk and less money to spend. Pachu, be careful. That's quite confusing. Fax machines don't talk. Fax machines send information via writing. So you have to have clarity. The other point, Pachu, is don't confuse software with hardware. So using cell phones, that's hardware, mobile phones, computers. Using social media websites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that's software. It's very different. So have clarity. Okay, text message and fax, that's mode of communication. Okay, so careful students not to confuse your listener. Okay, make sure that you clearly communicate these as separate types of technology. It's okay to mention them, but there's hardware, right, which are mobile phones, computers, fax machines, sure, why not? There's also software like Skype, WhatsApp, Facebook, right? And there's also modes like chat, phone, fax, text. Okay, those are modes of communication. You want to be clear when you communicate this and not just ramble and put them all into one basket. That could be awkward. Even though your examiner will understand, it will be an unclear answer. All right? Okay, let's see what other answers come up here. Kamlesh Kucha says, I generally use my mobile phone to stay in touch with others as it provides a chance for talking to anyone from any corner of the world. Also, I use different apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, and Google Duo to help me send information to others. Kamlesh, that's good. Okay, you have more clarity, more separation there between hardware and software, which is nice. Raphael Trisostomo says, I usually use my mobile phone, email, WhatsApp, and Facebook as well. So Raphael, that's what I mean by just kind of rolling all of this into one answer. So you need to have clarity. Okay. So here we go. Here's my answer. Well, like billions of others in the world, my smartphone is a new technology that I use to stay in touch with others. Not only do I use hardware like my Galaxy 10 and ASUS laptop, but also software like WhatsApp and Skype to connect with friends and family. All right. So here is my answer. Take a look. Again, repeat after me. What technology do you use to communicate with others? Okay, I like that paraphrasing. Stay in touch, so that's good. Well, like billions of others in the world, my smartphone is a new technology that I use to stay in touch with others. And then I'm using a correlative conjunction. This is an easy one because there are so many different pieces of technology for communication. So not only do I use hardware like my Galaxy 10 and ASUS laptop, but also software like WhatsApp and Skype to connect with friends and family. All right. Here's the next question. Which is your favorite way to communicate? Why? Now, the why is often in brackets on their question sheet because they may or may not ask you that depending on your answer. You should include the reason, the why answer, in your response, and that way you get a higher band score. They don't need to ask you that question all the time. So while you think about that, I'm going to look at a couple of other students' previous answers. Okay. So Alvina says, well, as current technologies are improving every day, it gives me a great opportunity to use different devices. For instance, I basically use a cell phone and laptop for calls and chatting through WhatsApp. Okay, Alvina, it's good. Just make sure you directly answer the question right away. So the question was, what technology do you use to communicate? So talk about what you use, not what people in general use or what technology is developing, okay? Students, it's very, very important that you directly answer the questions that you are being asked. At the beginning of class, I showed you the difference between band 7, 8, 8, and 9 is very narrow. That's one of the points where you can improve that extra half band score, is answer questions very specifically. If it asks, what do you use to communicate? Which one is your favorite one? Don't talk about technology in general. Talk about yourself and what you like. Okay? All right. Sachin, we're not working on a cue card today, but we will later in the week. I believe we have that class scheduled for Friday, so just keep tuning into class. Okay. All right. Abdullah Al-Mamun says, I get a lot of pressure to use Messenger, which is used all over the world and connects people easily with one another. Also, it works fast and smooth. Abdullah, so you're saying that you get a lot of pressure to use Messenger, but that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you, which is your favorite way to communicate? Not which one are you pressured to communicate with, okay? Maybe that's the one you get pressured into using, but your favorite way to communicate is face-to-face, okay? Murasa says, well, my number one choice is Facebook. With the help of this social app, not only can I easily talk with others, but also I come to know about the latest news yesterday. I got information about the Murasa, you're going off topic. We're not talking about using social media for news. We're talking about your favorite way to communicate. Stay on topic. Okay, get that high band score. Ferdov says, I like to talk on my cell phone using the Viber app because it's affordable and I can stay in touch with my family and colleagues anywhere, anytime. Okay, for Dobbs, that works. Yep. And you explained why. And you said that it's affordable. I believe Viber is mostly free, which is okay. All right. Let's see. Bayern München. When I was a child, I used to borrow my dad's cell phone to connect with my friends, but currently I'm a student in university. My laptop is my favorite way to chat with others. Byron, I didn't ask you what your favorite way was to communicate or what used to be your favorite way, so don't start with that. Students, stay specific. I'm seeing too many responses that are generalized, okay? I'm going to break this down. Answer, explain, example. Okay, so your response should be in this format, and I'm not seeing this, and it has to be specific to the question. Okay, I really want you to get a high score on your next exam, and I really want you to follow this advice. You must be as specific to the question as possible. Okay? That's key to good communication. All right? And it's key for the examiner not to cut into what you're saying. So let me emphasize with this question. Which is your favorite way to communicate? Why? Okay? So call me old school, but I prefer to communicate with others face to face. Boom. It's right away, okay? Right away I'm answering this question. Call me old school, but I prefer, and I mean, if I don't want to get too fancy, I can even take that out and just go with I prefer to. Just teaching you a little bit as well. So call me old school, but I prefer to communicate with others face to face. Okay, what is your favorite? I prefer to communicate with others face to face. I directly answer that question. I didn't talk about what I used to use as a child or what a lot of people use or what people pressure me into using. Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about your preferred way of communication, what you like. Okay, your favorite. Okay. And then explain it. So explain why that's your favorite. Okay? So why do I like talking to others face to face? The reason for this is I enjoy seeing and hearing the person I'm talking with, as well as feeling their emotions. Okay? So the reason for this is I enjoy seeing and hearing the person I'm talking with, as well as feeling their emotions. And for that, we still need, of course, face-to-face communication for the most part, unless you explain video chat using Skype. Okay, maybe that could work as well. And then I break into an example quickly and smooth. So the examiner doesn't have time to stop me or cut me off, okay? I just had a great heart-to-heart discussion about my future plans with my dad yesterday over a cup of coffee. Okay, that's your band 9. Specific to the question, answering, explaining, example, all is one. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So again, repeat after me. Which is your favorite way to communicate? Call me old school, but I prefer to communicate with others face to face. The reason for this is I enjoy seeing and hearing the person I'm talking with, as well as feeling their emotions. I just had a great heart-to-heart discussion about my future plans with my dad yesterday over a cup of coffee. Boom, band 9. Specific to the question, a lot of clarity, visual, answer, explain, example. Okay? All right. So let's do that for the next questions, okay? So let's follow these rules for the next question. Specific to the questions, answer, explain, example. All right. Is that clear, students? So is it clear what the exam needs from you? Is that clear? And here is the next question. How often do you send text messages? How often do you send text messages? Okay, give me some nice answers to that one. So again, thank you, Bagshot. You heard that sneeze. Some people believe that when a person sneezes, the truth is being told. Thank you, Omar. All right. So, how often do you send text messages? Think, answer, explain, example, specific to the question. Mohammed says, well, I send text messages often because I don't like it. I prefer face-to-face. Mohammed, you mean, well, I don't often send text messages because I prefer face-to-face. For example, I just met my friends yesterday. Okay, Mohammed, that's much better. Much better. So you're thinking about that answer, explain, example, specific to the question. Now add in some quantitative information, numbers. Okay, numbers. Ferdov says, I frequently use Viber app to forward messages, not only about my work assignments, my work assignment problems, but also to keep track of my kids. Okay, Ferdovs. So how many messages do you send each day? Okay, is it 2, 10, 15, between 15 and 20? So again, here, students, you probably should realize that most people text every single day. Okay, so some people send 5, 10 text messages. Some people send 100. This is where you need to have a bit of quantitative information to improve your clarity. Okay, so not just qualitative, but quantitative as well. Okay. And Malik, I didn't ask how you're sending text messages. I asked how frequently you're sending text messages. Reba says, well, I usually text every single day. For example, there are many groups of my friends who I cannot talk to in real time, so I prefer to send them messages. Abdullah, I see. Correction there. You get a lot of pleasure instead of pressure. All right. My bad, Abdullah. Just a quick side trail on that. Abdullah, getting a lot of pleasure from using an app is a bit awkward to say. So you wouldn't want to say it that way. All right. Hung says, well, I send text messages maybe 2 to 3 times a week. Just like I mentioned before, I like to talk with my friends face to face. The last message I sent was to my landlord last Sunday. Hung, very good. Okay, picking it up. Yeah, absolutely. So good quantitative language, answering the question, explaining, and giving an example. That's how you get those high bands. Very good, Hung. Okay, very good. All right. Bagshot says, I almost send a message each day, at least 5 text messages to both friends and family. Just before the start of this exam, I sent a message to my brother explaining how stressful I'm feeling or how stressed I'm feeling. Okay, good. All right, so how often? Adverbs of frequency, rarely, often, never. So, well, I'd say that I text quite often, at least 5 to 10 messages each day, because I'm unable to communicate in real time with friends and coworkers during the day. So it is an effective way to keep in touch. I just sent a message to my best friend Joe to pick me up after the exam before I walked into this interview. Okay? So again, repeat after me. How often do you send text messages? Well, I'd say that I text quite often, at least 5 to 10 messages each day, because I'm unable to communicate in real time with friends and coworkers during the days. So it is an effective way to keep in touch. I just sent a message to my best friend Joe to pick me up after the exam before I walked into this interview. Okay? That works. Again, quantitative language. So 5 to 10 messages each day. It gives a clear picture, a clear understanding for your listener of how often you actually text. Okay? For some teenagers, 5 to 10 messages each day is nothing. That would be like rarely. Okay? Some teenagers would say, whoa, you're not like between 100 and 200 messages each day? You're not even using a text at all. Okay? Deepak Sharma, how can you overcome nervousness while speaking? Don't overthink it. You're one of many students. You're probably not the worst. You're probably not the best. Imagine that the examiner is your grandfather or your grandmother. Speak to them respectfully. Speak to them in full sentences. And remember, the sun will shine tomorrow. Okay? Take a deep breath. Don't worry about it. All right. Next question. What is good about your communication? What is good about your communication? So give me some nice answers to this one. What is good about your communication? All right. Patel sends 300 to 400 messages per day. Wow, Patel. All right. Again, answer, explain, example. What is good about your communication? Visualize, picture it. All right. What can be good about communication? Satisfying Time says, if I want to show off, I would say that my kind words are inspiring in conversation, since I like to encourage people to be their best. Okay, Satisfying Times, that was a little bit tricky, so I made some corrections there. Okay. Keep it simple. Vina Lynn says, that's a very hard question. Vina Lynn, good. You can start with that. Again, students, be ready for some tougher questions, especially if the examiner feels that you're doing a good job and they really want to test your language abilities to see if you are a true band 8 or 9. They will throw some more difficult questions at you, and it's okay to start, Weena, by saying, that's a very tough question. I've never really given any thought to what is good about my communication. However, if I had to say, I would. Okay? So you can buy yourself quite a bit of time with this to think and visualize what is good communication. Tyender says, interesting question. The best part of my interaction with other people is that I do not beat around the bush and I stay on topic. I also receive compliments from my kins. You don't need the kith in kins. Tyender, just kins. Okay, if I had to say, I would state that I do not beat around the bush, but rather get to the point, as I have done so far in this exam. All right. Beat around the bush, the expression that Tyender just threw out at us, which is great. Thanks for sharing that. Beat around the bush means to not go to the point or not talk about the main point, but to go off topic. Now, it's kind of funny in this context. I'm sure some of you are smiling because at the beginning here, I'm kind of beating around the bush. Okay, so I'm saying that's a very tough question. I haven't really given any thought to what is good about my communication. However, if I had to say, that is actually beating around the bush. But Tyinder, thank you for sharing that, because the goal of good communication is that you do not beat around the bush, but you get to the point, as we have done in this exam. Okay, so this strategy that I showed you here, which is your favorite way to communicate and why? Answer, explain, example. Call me old school, but I prefer to communicate with others face to face. This is a person who is not beating around the bush. They're answering the question very specifically. Okay, so that's a good strategy. All right. Now, other ways of good communication, of course, is having patience, having empathy or sympathy for your listener, okay, using open-ended questions. So there are many other positive points to good communication. Okay, Raphael says, that's a tough one, sir. I've never thought about it. However, if I had to say, I'd like to make my conversation partner feel relaxed and comfortable and give them a chance to speak. So Raphael, what you're telling me is that you are a good listener, and that is golden. Okay, so being a good listener is a key part of good communication. All right, students, you have done a fantastic job. I have 3 more questions for you, which you can do for homework. Here they are. How can you improve your communication? How have computers changed the way people interact with each other? If you have to talk about a serious situation for friends or family, where is a good place? Okay? These last 3 questions I'm going to leave for you to do for homework. You can record it on your smartphone in MP3 format, send it to my email, and I will give you a score estimate on your speaking level. So I will tell you if you're a band 6, 7, 8, or 9. You can send it to Adrian, Adrian, at aehelp.com. And students, remember, check out our websites, aehelp.com for academic IELTS and gieltshelp.com for general. Okay, so here is our academic website. You can click that big red button to join our Premium Pro package, or for general, it's this green background, and you can click that green button there at gieltshelp.com. Okay. Duza, one way to manage your time is by practicing, okay, the time limit. So sit down for a speaking interview with someone. Make sure you stick to 12 to 15 minutes with appropriate times for part 1, 2, and 3 in the speaking. Okay, so time management, students, for the exam is well done by practice. All right. Hassan, these questions that I showed you today, they're not necessarily July questions, but you could see them. Hassan, you could see those questions on the exam this month. Who knows? Nobody knows until you get your exam. All right, students, you're very welcome. You've done a great job. Keep up the good practice. Again, if you haven't seen our latest high-definition speaking interview with the Korean candidate, check it out. We also uploaded one with a German candidate last month. Lots of others from other nationalities. Check out those speaking videos on the YouTube channel. Much love to all of you. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow for writing task 2 and reading. Bye for now, everyone.